welcome back to Spinning Iris. It is day 16 of Banned Book Month, which means it is time for chapter 16 of Candide by Voltaire. In the last chapters, Candide was reunited with Cunegonde, only to lose her in Buenos Aires. Then he was reunited with Cunegonde's brother, the new Baron of Thunder Ten Tronckh, and then stabbed him in the belly. And now he is yet again on the run. Well, he's not alone. He has his trusty servant Cacambo, and they are venturing further into South America. Now, in this chapter, I will be most likely mispronouncing several French words. I apologize ahead of time. So let's find out what happens next, shall we? Are you ready? Let's go. Chapter 16. What happened to the two travelers with 2 girls, 2 monkeys, and the savages known as the Oreillons. Candide and his valet had passed the border guards before anyone in the camp knew of the German Jesuit's death. The vigilant Cacambo had been careful to fill his saddlebag with bread, chocolate, ham, fruit, and a few bottles of wine. On their Andalusian horses they plunged into unknown country where they found no road. Finally they came to a beautiful meadow intersected by streams. Our 2 travelers let their horses graze. Cacambo suggested to his master that they should eat, and he set him an example. "How do you expect me to eat ham," said Candide, "when I've just killed the Baron's son, and find myself doomed never to see the fair Cunegonde again for the rest of my life? What's the use of prolonging my miserable days, since I must drag them out far away from her, in remorse and despair? And what will the Journal de Trevoux say?" As he spoke thus, he continued to eat. The sun was setting. The 2 lost travelers heard little cries which seemed to come from women. They did not know whether they were cries of pain or joy, but they leapt to their feet with the anxiety and alarm which everything arouses in an unknown country. The cries came from 2 naked girls who were running nimbly along the edge of the meadow while 2 monkeys followed them, biting their buttocks. Candide was moved to pity. He had learned to shoot in the Bulgar army, and he could have shot a hazelnut from a tree without touching the leaves. He picked up his double-barreled Spanish rifle and fired, killing the 2 monkeys. "God be praised, my dear Cacambo, I've delivered those 2 poor creatures from a great danger. If I sinned in killing an inquisitor and a Jesuit, I've atoned for it by saving the lives of 2 girls. They may be young ladies of noble birth, and the incident may bring us great advantages in this country." He was about to go on, but his tongue suddenly became paralyzed when he saw the girls lovingly embrace the monkeys, burst into tears over their bodies, and fill the air with grief-stricken cries. "I wasn't expecting such tender compassion," he said at length to Cacambo. "That was a fine thing to do, sir," said Cacambo. "You've killed those young ladies' lovers." "Their lovers? Impossible! You're joking, Cacambo. How could I believe such a thing?" "My dear master," replied Cacambo, "you're always surprised by everything. Why do you find it so strange that in some countries there should be monkeys that enjoy the favors of ladies? They're a quarter human, just as I'm a quarter Spanish." "Alas," said Candide, "I do remember hearing Dr. Pangloss say that similar incidents had happened in the past, that such mixtures had produced Egypans, fauns, and satyrs, and that several great men of antiquity had seen them, but I regarded all that as fables." "Now you should be convinced that it's true," said Cacambo, "and you can see how people behave when they've been given a different upbringing. All I'm afraid of is that those ladies may make trouble for us." These well-founded reflections determined Candide to leave the meadow and go into the forest. He and Cacambo ate supper there, and after cursing the Inquisitor of Portugal, the Governor of Buenos Aires, and the Baron, they both went to sleep on the moss. When they awoke, they found that they could not move. The reason for this was that during the night the Oreillons, the inhabitants of the country to whom the 2 ladies had denounced them, had tied them up with ropes made of bark. They were surrounded by about 50 naked Oreillons, armed with arrows, clubs, and stone axes. Some of them were heating a large cauldron of water. Others were preparing spits, and all were shouting, "He's a Jesuit! He's a Jesuit! We'll have our revenge, and eat a good meal. Let's eat a Jesuit! Let's eat a Jesuit!" "I was right, dear master," cried Cacambo sadly, "when I told you those 2 girls would make trouble for us." Seeing the cauldron and the spits, Candide cried out, "We're surely going to be either roasted or boiled. Ah, what would Dr. Pangloss say if he saw what pure nature is like? All is well, I won't argue about it. But I must admit it's a cruel fate to have lost Lady Cunegonde and then be roasted on a spit by the Oreillons." Cacambo never lost his head. "Don't give up hope," he said to the forlorn Candide. "I know a little of these people's jargon, and I'm going to speak to them." "Be sure to point out to them how horribly inhuman it is to cook men," said Candide, "and how unchristian it is too." "Gentlemen," said Cacambo, "you expect to eat a Jesuit today. That's perfectly all right. Nothing could be more just than to treat your enemies that way. For natural law teaches us to kill our neighbor, and that's how people behave all over the world. If we don't exercise the right to eat him, it's because we have other things to make a good meal of. But you don't have the same resources as we do, and it's certainly better to eat your enemies than abandon the fruit of your victory to crows and ravens. However, gentlemen, you wouldn't want to eat your friends. You think you're about to put a Jesuit on the spit, but you're actually about to roast your defender, the enemy of your enemies. I myself was born in your country, and this gentleman is my master. Far from being a Jesuit, he's just killed a Jesuit and is wearing his clothes. That's the cause of your mistake. To verify what I'm saying, take his robe, bring it to the nearest border post of the Father's kingdom, and find out whether or not my master has killed a Jesuit officer. It won't take long, and you can still eat us if you find out I've lied to you. But if I've told the truth, you're too well acquainted with the principles of international law, morality, and justice not to spare our lives." The Oreillons found this speech quite reasonable. They appointed 2 notables to inquire into the truth of the matter. The 2 delegates carried out their mission intelligently, and soon returned with good news. The Oreillons untied their prisoners, treated them with great courtesy, offered them women, gave them refreshments, and led them to the border of their territory, shouting joyfully, "He's not a Jesuit! He's not a Jesuit!" Candide was filled with wonder at the cause of his deliverance. "What a people!" he kept exclaiming. "What men! What morality! If I hadn't been lucky enough to thrust my sword through the body of Lady Cunegonde's brother, I'd surely have been eaten. But pure nature is good after all, since instead of eating me, these people showered me with polite kindness as soon as they found out I wasn't a Jesuit." And that is the end of chapter 16. And there was a little note referring to, where was it? The Journal des Travaux. Apologies. Apparently, it's a Jesuit publication which had occasionally attacked Voltaire. Hence this chapter about eating Jesuits. All right, so Candide is venturing farther into the unknown, and we'll find out how far he goes tomorrow. Hope you'll join me. Take care. Bye-bye.